This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Good morning, everyone. Shalom Aleichem. Bruchim Habayim. We continue in Mishna Berura, Daf Hashavua, Kol Hashoyna Halachos B'chol Yom, Muftach Lo Shuben Olam Haba. So we're up to Siman Daled, Seif Ches, Netilas Yadayim Shachris, Ein Noitlin Al Gabe Karka, Ela L'toich Keli. Netilas Yadayim of the morning, we do not wash on the ground, only into another basin. What's the reason for this? What difference does it make where you wash it? As long as you get your hands clean, who cares where the water goes afterwards? It says in Mishnah Berura, Va'afilu al gabe kesamim aser. Even to do it on some kind of chip, it's aser. Why? Mimnei sheruach ra shar aleim, because of the bad spirit that resides on the hands. It's interesting, the Dirshu quotes the opinion of Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld in the Shalsha Tshuva Salmas Chaim, that even if, let's say, the water gets totally absorbed, in other words, let's say you're camping and you want to do Neigel Vasser on the ground. So now there's not going to be a remnant of the water. It's not going to be what we call toifeach hamanas latpiach. There's not going to be any tangible wetness. Toifeach hamanas latpiach means when you touch that moisture, it could then make something else moist. There's nothing left. It's completely absorbed. I want to do it on my lawn. No. Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld says there's still ruach ra that could cause people damage. The Eish Avram Buchat says that if it gets absorbed in the karka, there's no ruach ra. It's like it's not there. Now let's say you want to be mevatel, that water that's on the ground. The Ben Ish Chai writes you have to pour a lot of water on that. What if your Neigel Vasser basin spills? I'll tell you a little story. I learned in yeshiva that's tradition from Slabodka. The minhag was not to put Neigel Vasser by the bed, but for whatever reason, I wasn't on such a high madrega to abide by that custom of Slabodka. So when I came to the yeshiva, I put a Neigel Vasser under the bed, and the guy who slept under me, there were bunk beds, he put his laundry bag into my Neigel Vasser. So that was not a good that was not a good welcome to my new yeshiva. It did not set me on the right foot. And then another guy complained that it woke him up in the morning. So whatever, we'll leave that story for a different occasion. But what if your Neigel Vasser spills on the floor? Shlomo Zalman says you could just dry it. You don't have to pour water on the floor to be mavato the ruach ra that's now living in your floorboards. Okay, now you should a kli. It's a good thing to put two vessels, says the Mishnah Berura, by your head. Echad male ve'echad reikam. One full and one empty. Now, are you allowed to wash Neigel Vasser into your kitchen sink where all the dishes are there? Right? Because we just said, according to Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld, I don't know, does it get absorbed in the dishes? Rav Shlomo Zalman said if it spills on the floor, you just could dry it up. You don't have to pour water on it, but maybe that's b'diavad. L'chadchila, you're allowed to wash Neigel Vasser in your kitchen sink. So you say you can't anyway because it should be in your dalet amah. So if you happen to sleep, your bed is positioned next to your kitchen sink. I'm not going to get into your personal geschäft over here, why your family removed you from your room and parked you by your kitchen sink. I allowed to wash Neigel Vasser. Rav Shlomo Zalman says you're allowed to do it l'chadchila because afterwards you rinse off the kelim. And Rav Chaim Kanievsky says when you rinse off the dishes, it's enough to rinse it off one time. Okay. Sif tes. Ma'im sham netil sidayim shachris. Also lehonismim. You can't get enough for them. V'lo yishbechim b'vayis. You don't pour it out in the house. V'lo b'makom she'ovim sham bnei adam, or in a place where people pass by. Says now, I'm not sure I understand Rav Shlomo Zalman that you could wash Neigel Vasser into your dishes. I mean, if you're not allowed to do Neigel Vasser in a place where somebody may walk, you could do it on a plate that somebody might eat off. I guess if you do it where somebody might walk, they might walk on that actual water. But if you do it on the dishes, they'll get rinsed off anyway. That would seem to be the difference. But says Mishna Sivkata on Chaf Mehem Al Kain Lo Yitneim Lefnei Behemta. Don't give it to Elsie the cow. Elsie's very thirsty. No problem. Let her drink Neigel Vasser water. No, don't give it to Elsie. If you meet an Amaleki, that would be okay. If you want to give your Neigel Vasser water to an Amaleki to drink, B'nei Adam ki yuchlu li nazek aidei ruach ra. The person could get hurt and damaged from the ruach ra. Interesting shaila. Are you allowed to wash out the avit mei raglaim? Are you allowed to wash a toilet with your Neigel Vasser water? So the Dershu brings from Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld in Salmas Chaim Siman Chav Dalet that you're allowed to, it's mutter, and Rabbi Yosef concurs. But what should you do? It says Mishnah, pour it into a drain, or into soft dust. But we just said that even if it gets absorbed in the ground, it's a problem. No, since halacha allows you to pour it into afar tichuach, then nothing bad will happen from it. Sif Yud, noitel kli shalmayim biyad yaminoi. When you pick up the Neigel Vasser, we know you're supposed to wash your right hand first. But so what? You're going to pick it up in the kais in your left hand? No. You pick it up in your right hand. Put in your left hand. This way you pour water on the right hand first. However, you're also going to pick it up in your right hand first. Says the Mishnah Berura, in order that the right side, which is chesed, will prevail and overpower the left side, which is din. And v'gam be'iter azlina basar yamin da'alma. A lefty does the same thing. In other words, he will pick up the cup with his right hand, put in his left hand, and wash his right hand first. Sif Yud Aleph. Loy yito mimish loy natal yadav shachris. Don't allow someone who did not yet wash Neigel Vasser to pour the water on your hand. Says Mishmar loy yito ritzolaimer lishbach loy al yadav, that he should pour it on your hands. The Maggid Avram in Sivkatan Ches, quoted by the Dirshu, brings in the name of the Zayar that the pasuk says V'hiza hatahar al hatameh. Therefore, says the Leiv Chaim. Who's the Leiv Chaim? Let's go. Who knows? Leiv Chaim, Chaim Falaji, that do not allow a Gentile to wash your Neigel Vasser because the Gentile is always tameh. But we know that a Gentile is not subject to Ruach Ra. That's Reb Chaim Falaji. The Eishav Mabachat says that since Goyim don't have Ruach Ra, like we said, Tony could make your bagel and cream cheese even though he didn't wash Neigel Vasser. You could get a Goy to wash Neigel Vasser for you. Now, says the Mishnah Berura, he shouldn't pour it on your hands, but he could bring you water. When it comes to natila for eating bread, then you're allowed to have somebody who didn't wash your hands for you. Why? Says the Prima Gadim. Now natila sidayim la'achila comes to add kedusha, and therefore you could wash from someone who didn't wash. Until Zadam Shachris comes to remove the Ruach Ra, and therefore you need to be more makbid. What about to wash Natil Yadayim from a goy or a nida? Shulchan Aruch says later on, it's mutter. Fine. Sif Yud Beis. Im shech yadav l'tach kli shamayim. Let's say you rubbed your hands in a vessel of water. So also loy natila l'kriya shema l'tfila. The natila works for Shema and Shemaina Esrei. Avoloy l'ruach ra shalem, but it will not remove the ruach ra. Because for ruach ra, it seems like you need to kayacha iroi, you need pouring. What about imshich? And it has to be 3 separate waters. In other words, moreover, for if your hands are dirty, they'll get clean, but to remove ruach ra, now the ruach ra is floating around in that water, it's not going to do the job. If you rub your hands in 3 separate waters, there's a suffix if it would work to remove the ruach ra that's on them. Says the Mishnah Berura of Katan Chavhei, l'kriyas shema l'tfilah. And, interesting, if you rub your hands in a bucket of water, you could even make a bracha of al natil yadayim. V'yuchal levarach al natil yadayim. Why? The amrinon b'kiyar, we say about the kiyar, v'rachatzu mimenu. So we say about the kiyar, you'll wash from it, but v'loy b'seich, but not in it, from it, but not in it. But anywhere else, haba'alma afilu b'soichai. So it's a very interesting diuk. We're medayik from the kiyar. Only in the Beis Hamikdash. One second. Only in the Beis Hamikdash are you not allowed to wash in the kiyar, but any other washing you're allowed to wash in it. To remove the evil spirit, you need specifically to pour 3 times. Rubbing in a kli is only considered 1 time. Even though you rubbed your hands 100 times in the kli, it's considered only 1 time. Because immediately the waters become tami. So now the water is considered dirty water, and therefore it does not work to remove the ruach ra for the other 2 times you need to pour. Therefore, misham hachi nestapik achakach b'meimas mechalafim. Therefore, the mechaber has a suffix afterwards. If you change the water, the efsher the lav davka eroi be'inan lahav ruach ra. It could be you don't specifically need to pour to remove the ruach ra. Va'afilu rechitza sagi. It would be enough merely to wash. Meaning, maybe the reason why it doesn't help to rub your hands 100 times in the same water is because it's the same water. But if it would be 3 different waters, then it would be good. On the other hand, maybe not. Maybe you need pouring, and then it doesn't help if you change the water. Or maybe you need to pour on your hands. Because of Prima Gadim, the fizeh imtachav yadai banahar shalosh pa'amim. It says in Prima Gadim, accordingly, if you stuck your hands in the river 3 times, so it's 3 different waters, or you stick your hands in the snow in 3 different places, still, it would only help for tefillah, but it would be a suffix, it would be a suffix if it helps to remove ruach ra. Why? It could be you need to pour from a vessel. Now, what do you mean maybe you need a kli? But didn't the Mishnah Berura say in Sivkatan Yud Zayin that you don't need a kli? In Sivkatan Yud Zayin, on Sif Zayin, Miu Einoi Ma'akev Loi Kli, the Mishnah Berura said it helps to remove the Ruach Ra even without a kli. Says Reb Chaim Kanievsky, the word kli in this Mishnah Berura is lav davka. He means maybe you need pouring, but it doesn't need a kli. We already said, b'diavad, you don't need a kli to remove ruach ra. Uva'artzos hachayim, the malbim, ulevushei surad pasku, dibinahar, in a river, v'chem esheleg, uv'mei mikvah, mahani af lahav ruach ra. Va'afilu ein b'hem arba'am sa. Va'ayin shamoid, ba'artzos hachayim. So as Chaim says, in a big pool of water, it would help to remove the ruach ra if you dunk 3 times. And one more Mishnah Berura. But not to remove the ruach ra. Al ken yira lito pamshenis min kli afilu achar tefillah. Therefore, if you could get a hold of a kli and wash your hands 3 times, to remove the ruach ra, even though it was sufficient for tefillah, but it might not have been sufficient for ruach ra, you should do so. Okay, Rabbi said we will continue with Sif Yud Gimel tomorrow. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. Wishing you all bracha v'hatzlacha. Good.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.